Okay, so let's take a look at how you can make a platformer with Godot Engine. So I have downloaded Godot Engine and I'm going to create a new project with it. So first thing, open Godot Engine. Now let's create new project. Let's name this platformer demo. Okay, you can choose directory. So in documents, let's go to Godot demos, and here let's create a folder, platformer demo. Click OK, select current folder. Now choose between OpenGL ES 3.0 or 2.0. So I'm going with ES 3.0. Let's create an edit. Okay, now let's set it for 2D view. Okay, now we have to create a scene and also we have to add assets. Okay, so this is our resource folder. So we have to go to documents, Godot demos, platformer demo. Now in this folder I'm going to add my assets. So here you can see assets folder that contains this player wizard, then tile for bottom wall, okay, which we are going to also use in other areas. Then I don't have an enemy, so I downloaded this custom art for that. Okay, so apart from that, what we'll do is we will basically copy all of these items. Okay, if you want, you can additionally download any other sprites. So I will go with these one. Then let's go to our platformer demo and then paste it here. Right now what we can do is we can see the project is being scanned. Now when you check your resource folder, it will update with new sprites. Okay, first thing we have to do is choose main scene as 2D and we have to rename this as main scene. Hit enter. Now save this scene as well. It will be added in your resource folder. Right, next thing what we have to do is we have to add a player. Right, so what we'll do is go to scene, new scene, and okay, so let's create a player node. So we choose from scene, then other node, and we choose kinematic body 2D. Okay, let's rename this as player. Okay, then we will add one sprite and also we will add a child node. Okay, so let's add child node, and here it needs to be collision shape 2D. Right, now after that we will add sprite. So right, okay, now next thing what we will do is we will add sprite, set its position, and then we will get it to move. Right, so we'll take a look at that part later. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can do the player setup for platformer game. We have already created a project and done project sprite setup and also the scene setup. So what we'll do is we'll open Godot and our project. Next thing what we'll do is here you can see I already created a player scene and I have added collision shape 2D node under it. So right click and add child node and then choose for collision shape 2D. Okay, once you do that, keep the player selected and add your sprite, and when you do so, save that child node as sprite. When you add the sprite, within that child node. Now few settings to look at is select collision shape 2D. Then here you have to check for capsule shape 2D. Then select this capsule and set the radius to 50 and height for 120 or 129, right? So after that, next would be setting the position, which is in my case minus 0.5 to 15, right? After that you can save that particular collision shape 2D parameters, right? Also few more things is to set your sprite's position to 00, right? And it will look something like this, right? After that, simply save your project, okay, and then save it as your player scene, right? Next thing is we will take a look at how to add a script to your player, right? So when you have this player node selected, there is also one more tab named script, and we will add new script through this particular menu on the right, okay. And after that we will have to emulate the keyboard mode. Okay, so you get the idea on how to set up the player for your platform project. Okay, so let's take a look at the keyboard movement of platformer player. So previously we have set up the project and also set up the player. Next thing would be to set up the keyboard movement. For that we will open the project and edit it. Next thing would be to go to project settings. Okay, our main scene is currently empty. If you run it, there is currently nothing. We have only worked with our player so far. Okay, so what we'll do is we will go to project settings, and we will go to input map. Now here what we'll do is we have already few of the default UI keyboard controls. We will add new one by simply typing in, let's say, move_left, and then click on add. Let's go to the move left and add keyboard key, which is left. Okay, click OK. Now we will add one more action, which is move_right. Click add, then go to that action, click add key, and then use right key. Click OK. Now let's add another one, which is jump. Okay, add it. Simply use spacebar. Click OK. So what we have done is our player can move left and right, and also use spacebar to jump between the obstacles. Okay, so close this and save. Okay, so basically we are now ready to use the player script to move our player within our scene. Then we will go for using the tiles on which the player will move, along with the script that pushes its velocity. And then we will go for our enemy that happens to collide with our player within a certain range. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can add the player script to your Godot Engine's platformer game. So first thing, let me open the project, and okay, now what we'll do is we'll open our player scene. So let's go to file system, check player scene. Now here you see player node is selected, and on right hand side there is inspector tab where you have option for adding new script. Just name this player.gd and create it. Okay, by default you can see we have extends kinematic body 2D, and there is a function named ready, and we have pass as functions last statement. So what we will do is we will write few variables here. Okay, so first variable we want is score, which is going to be integer and holding value of 0. Right. Next I want to add speed, which is going to be integer holding value of 0. Also we will add jump force for jump of character, set it to 600. Okay, and then there is gravity, which also holds integer value, so that it allows the player to jump back to the bottom tiles, right? So after that we will also add velocity. So velocity is for the forward, backward and jump movement. So variable velocity, which is going to be a vector 2, right? So we have to equal that with vector 2 class, right? We are not passing anything to that. Then there is grounded, which is bool value, and set it to false. Okay, also we have to check whether our sprite is set to $sprite, right? Then what we have to do is we have to add one function, which is function underscore physics process delta, right? And we have to set velocity for that. So velocity dot x set to 0. Make sure that you also have the pass at the end. Okay, it won't do anything, but we have to end the statement, so we will add pass. Okay, then we already added our keyboard mapping, so we can use input dot is action pressed. So is action pressed, and here we have to choose move underscore left. Okay, so when that particular key from the keyboard is pressed, the velocity, which is going to be the x-axis value, set to plus equals to speed. We already have speed mentioned at the top. Similarly, one more condition, which is input dot is action pressed move to right. So move right. Okay, make sure it's auto completed because we already added that. So velocity dot x, okay, this one has to be plus equals to, and the left one has to be minus equals to, right, because we are moving left, right? Similarly, we also have to think about jump, but before that we have to also set few values for our velocity. So velocity equals to move and slide, right? So move and slide, and set its value to velocity and velocity vector 2 dot up. Hopefully that's there. Okay, now we have to also take care of the velocity dot y, and multiply equals to gravity into delta, right? And then we will move to input dot is action pressed. We will have to take care of jump value as well, right? So this is the jump already listed, so we will also add one more condition, and is underscore is on flow, right? And then use colon, right? So we will use velocity dot y minus equals to jump force. That's it. Now what we will do is we will basically just take care of, now we will take care of one more if condition, velocity dot x less than 0. We have to set value for sprite flip, so we will flip value based on where it is moving, right? Also, if velocity dot x greater than 0, it should again flip, sprite dot flip, and here we can choose vertical set or horizontal set to false, right? So basically this particular code is for flip, right? And then we have pass to end it. Okay, now what we can do is we can save this and we will go back to main scene and we will close this for now, and then we will drop our player dot scene onto the screen here, right? And we can run our main scene, right? Currently we don't have any gravity and other code, so it will just appear. Okay, so our default project shows the player on screen. Okay, we can also adjust its scale and then run. Okay, now it looks a bit reasonable and smaller. Okay, what we'll do now is we will add the tile at the bottom and make it fall to the ground. Okay, so that was for the player script. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can create a platformer. And so far we have added our sprite and added some action to it. Now what we have to do is we have to handle the gravity of player and also add some platform tile on which the player can run. So okay, so let's open project. Next thing is we have to check our player added to main screen. Okay, so let's put it here. Okay, now if you run this, you'll notice that it won't move, right? It is supposed to go down due to gravity. So what we will do is we will check player script, and here you can see it should be plus equal to and not multiplied by equal to. I also made a comment for that so that to edit later. Okay, now if we run this, it will fall down now. Okay, so we have to also create a new scene, okay, and add tile for it. Okay, so let's add new scene, make it other node. We have to use static body, so static body, and let's see if we have static body 2-dimensional. Let's create. Now what we will do is we will rename this as tile, right? Because tile is where we have to add it. Okay, next thing we have to attach one more node, add child node, which is going to be collision shape 2D. Okay, collision shape 2D, create, right? And then what we will do is we will set its shape to rectangle. Okay, and then okay, so rectangle shape 2D. Okay, right? Next we will select it and set it for 32, 32, right? Also we will add a child node, which is going to be sprite, right? And we will add our tile here. Right, now what we will do is set its position, which is going to be here, 0 to 0. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Okay, offset 0 0 already placed. Okay, and in transform we will also do 0 0. Right, now what we will do is we will save this tile. Right, okay, so pretty much everything is done, and let me delete the duplicate. Right, so what we have here is our tile. Okay, now we will add this tile to our main scene. Right, so we will add tile. Okay, so let's add it here, and we will use Ctrl D to duplicate that. Okay, so let me delete it for now. Okay, Ctrl T to keep on adding it. Right, and for now we will just put it over here so that we can see our player at least stopping to this point. Right, save this and run. Okay, so notice that we have to make sure to have collision with player, otherwise player will continue to fall to the bottom. Okay, so what we have done so far is we added our tiles, and we have also managed the gravity of player so that it can fall down. Okay, so we'll take collision for this tile and player later, along with its movement on the top of this tile. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can create platform again in Godot Engine. So previously we have managed to get our platformer to put our character on tile platform. Okay, so what I have done is I have added the tiles onto main scene. Okay, and use Ctrl D to copy it all over. Okay, now when our player drops down to these tiles, he will stop. Okay, earlier when there were no tiles, he used to go directly to the bottom of screen due to gravity. Okay, so what we'll do now is we will take a look at where we are right now. So notice that our player drops on this tile. Currently it only jumps. We'll see why it's not moving left and right for now. We will leave it as is. Now next thing is we have to create a new scene and add our enemy into that. Okay, so go to scene, new scene, and add other node, and we will add area 2D. So area 2D, create. Now here what we will do is we will add one more node and add our enemy sprite into it. So add child node, add sprite, create. Now let's drop enemy here. We will have to also resize it. Okay, so let's put it in a position. So we'll use transform to position it to 0 0, scale to, let's say, 0.5, also 0.5 here. Okay, so it's pretty much small enough. We have to also save this as enemy scene. Okay, saved it, right? And we can also scale it a bit smaller as well, and then put it at 0 0 location. You will notice that here you can scale with more lower values if you want. Okay, now if we go to our main scene, which is main scene here, and if we decide to drop our new enemy tile, can add it here, right? And if we run this, you will notice that it is looking like this. You can make it even more smaller if you want. For that you have to add it to your enemy. Okay, a bit simpler here. Okay, so y-axis both 0. Right, now let's save it and run it. Notice that it is now a bit smaller. What we'll do is we will make it move from this end to another end continuously. Okay, so that our player, when jumps down, it needs to avoid collision with our enemy. Okay, we'll take a look at that part later. Okay, so let's take a look at enemy movement in platformer game made in Godot Engine. So let me open the project to show you what we have done so far. Okay, so currently we have enemy and player. Okay, let's change its position to here so that we can move it from left to right or right to left. Okay, next thing, let's run this, and here you can see our player jumps in here on this tile, and we can make it jump, but we can't move it. Okay, so considering it is throwing an error, we will take a look at that. So it says the sprite has the value of bool for this flip underscore edge. So what we have to do is we have to look at this var sprite, which needs to be changed to this $sign. Okay, so once done, let's take a look at the updated interaction now. Okay, it jumps without any issue. It moves to left and to the right, left and right. Okay, so it works now. Now what we have to do is we have to make sure this enemy moves, and then finally we will go for collision of enemy and player. So let's switch to enemy script. For that we have to go to enemy area, and here we have to check for our enemy here. Okay, so basically what we will do is we'll go back to our main scene. We have our enemy, and we will see where our enemy is dropped. So let's go for change of that. Okay, so we have our enemy tile here. Okay, and Okay, so what we have to do here is we have to add a shape. Let's say we need to add a circle shape. Okay, so that when we add a range for that, it will have 0.5 as its range. And also for circle shape we can go with radius of 50 or more. Let's go with 80 or 100. 100 will be too much, so go with 75. Okay, so this is good enough, right? Now what we will do is we will go to our area where we have to add a script for our enemy. So new script, name it enemy.gd. Okay, it will start with extends 2d. Okay, next thing we have to add a few variables. So we will add export var speed, so it will be available in our editor. Then export var, then move distance, again 100. Then we also need to add onReady variable to start it from specific distance x, and then position dot y, so position dot x on both part. Okay, also onReady variable target x, so here we have to consider position x plus move distance, right? We have to check the variable as well. Okay, now next thing is to check for physics process. Okay, so we are going to add that. So function underscore physics underscore process delta. So this is the function that we will use, and here we have to use position dot x equals to move underscore to function. So we will define that later. So position dot x, then target x, then speed into delta, right? So what is missing? This move to is missing, and for that it should flag error, so let it be. So position dot x equals to target x, right? If this condition goes, then we will add one more condition. If target x equals to start x, okay, then another condition should take us to target x equals to position dot x, which we will use to add with move dist. Okay, now we have to check for else condition. So else we have to use target x equals to start x, right? Right, after that what we will do is we will simply create our move to function, right? So function which is going to be move underscore to, and it should take your current value and to and step, right? These three variables we will be using inside. So variable new equals to current, right? So if that goes, then if new is less than 2, then we will use new plus equals to step. Then if new is greater than 2, then new equals to 2. Now we will come out of it and use else, where it says new minus equals to step, right? And if new is less than 2, then we will go for new equals to 2, and then outside we will simply come out with return new. That's it. Okay. Right. So what we have left here is function, and we have to also get it out of our physics process, right? So that it should work. Okay, if there are any existing comments, you can remove them, because whenever you create your GD script, it should add default comments as well, so you can get rid of those and clean it up. Okay, now next thing we'll see how it goes, right? So let's run this, and notice that it is moving to some distance, coming back. So we'll increase this moving distance to, let's say, 700 and run it. Notice that it is going a lot longer now, right? So what we need is up to 800, I suppose, considering that should be closer to our tile sprite. Now what is left is this player should interact with this enemy, and when this player touches the enemy, it should destroy that particular sprite. So enemy and player are taken care of, right? Okay, so it's working so far. So you get the idea how to you get the idea how to move the player, and also how to move the enemy. Okay, so let's take a look at player and enemy collision in Godot Engine's platform again. So what we have done so far is we have created a project, okay, managed to run our player and also move our enemy. Okay, so this is the initial level. Okay, so if we run this, you'll find that at the top we have our player which can jump and also move left and right. Okay, next thing is we also have enemy at the bottom, but there is no action if enemy collides with player, right? So there is no form of collision detection. They run through different sprites. Okay, so what we'll do is we will basically choose our enemy, okay, and we have to check for if there is any collision. So let's go with enemy, and we have to choose enemy here, okay, which is sprite, and then we will check for the shape, okay, how much you want that shape in collision. Okay, currently the default looks okay. Now go back to area 2D and go for node, and then we have to choose body entered. Okay, hit enter, and we have to connect this to our enemy GD. Okay, so inside this, what we will do is we will basically check for if condition, if body dot name equals to player. So we have player here, and if it does, sorry, I have to use single quote here. I hope they accept that. Then make sure to use semicolon and then call for poly.die. Right, our error is gone. Okay, hopefully it should accept with this single quote player. Now we have to go back to player GTScript, and here we have to add a function which is basically the die function, right? And here what we'll do is get underscore tree, right? And then use reload underscore current underscore scene, right? Okay, now I have taken the function out of our process delta and placed it above it. Okay, so if I run this, hopefully the collision should work. So what I will do is I will just jump to the bottom. Let's see the collision, and you notice that our player goes back to the starting position, right? So let's try it again, right? Let it come and it goes back. Okay, so you get the idea how to do the player and enemy collision. So let's take a look at how you can add the gem system in our platformer games made by Godot Engine. Okay, so what we'll do is we will open our Godot Engine project. Okay, and in our resources I have already added our gem. Okay, so it looks something like this. Okay, so we are going to add that to our game. Okay, so first thing that we are going to do is we are going to add new node, which is going to be area 2D. Okay, right, and after that what we will do is we will add our gems to it. So before that, let me just delete the existing one. Okay, now let's create a new scene, and here we will make node area 2D, create that. Now what we will do is we will add collision shape 2D as child node. So collision shape 2D added. Now next thing is we have to add our gem. For that we will use another child node, name it sprite. Okay, and we can add the sprite for our gem. Okay, so we'll add that to the center. Okay, we can check its position 0 0. Scale you can keep it at this default, right? And what you can do is we will put it above our collision shape, right? Then we also have to check for, okay, so go to collision shape 2D, check the shape, choose circle shape, and let's say we add shape around, let's say 20 or more. Okay, so what we'll do is select our circle shape, choose radius as something of, let's say 20, which is low. Let's go with 80. That is again too big, so let's go with 40. Okay, let's reduce that to even smaller, which is 30. Okay, so we added our collision shape to that. Also our sprite gem is added. Okay, it is in position 0 0, right? Now what we will do is we will basically create a script for this particular gem. So we will go to area 2D, create new script, name this, let's say, gems, right? Let's create this. Now what we'll do is we will export variable named value and set its value to 1, and then save this as gems. Okay, and this is the scene that we will be dropping. Okay, now what we can do is we also have to check for our player scene when we do the collision, right? So let's add one function which is going to be process delta. Inside that we will add rotation underscore decrease, then plus equals to 19 to delta, right? Now what we can do is we can go to area 2D node here and then select node tab, right? Okay, and in node tab what we will do is we will find body entered signal. So body entered, now hit enter and it should create that function here. Okay, now what we will do is we will simply create a if statement, if body dot name equals to player, which is going to be in our player scene. Now body dot collect underscore gems, this is the function that we are going to create by the passing of value 1, which is initially here, and then what we will do is we will do queue free, right? Now we have to go to player GDScript, and in player GDScript what we will do is we will create a function. Okay, it should be at top here. Okay, so function collect gems, right? Sorry, we have to use colon, then we will use score plus equals to value. Okay, so we have not mentioned score yet, so we will have to do that. Considering value is not listed here, value is passed, so we will have to arrange that. Variable value set to 0. Okay, so the value will be passed from that function to here. So initially we will set its value 0 here. Okay, now if we go back to our main scene, we'll have to add okay, so let's add our gem here. So that gem scene needs to be dropped here. Also we can drop it by copying. Just simply select it, Control D, and drop one more here. You can also add one more tile here and put our player on extreme right. Let's do Control D one more time and add one more tile, make it start from here, and we can place our first gem here. Currently what will happen is it will try to calculate the score, but we are not displaying that for now. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll run this and see how it goes. Okay, notice that it is rotating. Okay, and if our player goes close to it, it will flag an error, which is collect gems. Okay, collect gems is expected 0 arguments. Okay, so the argument is the issue here that we will manage later. Okay, so if we go to player GD, we'll have to check it doesn't accept any argument, so we have to change that. Okay, now if we run again, okay, so let it move, right, but nothing happens because we have to display the score here at the top. Okay, and let's say we can go over there as well and take the gem. So we have managed to use our player to collect those gems. You can adjust the gem size in your gems scene. Okay, so simply go over there and right, we select that, we choose inspector, then transform for scale 0.5, which is smaller, I hope, right, and save it. Right, so let's keep it at 1. It goes too small. Okay, now coming back to main scene, let's make sure to also rename our two gems here if you want to change it from area 2D. Okay, so you can do that as well. Right, so everything is working. We got our one gem, right, and we jumped and we jumped again to the right, finished our level, right. So pretty much we have to calculate the score for the final touch now, then we will go for the camera tracking of player. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can track user camera. Okay, so basically whenever our player moves, it should also move the camera within that particular level. So we'll take a look at that. Open project, click on edit. Okay, now here let's test this out. Okay, this is our player and enemy. Okay, when it moves and collects the diamond and jump with the space bar. Okay, so what we want to do is whenever it goes down, camera should follow. Okay, considering our sprites are big, the difference may not be much, but we can test it anyway. Now go to main scene, right click, and here you can add the child node, add camera 2D. Okay, now make sure the camera 2D is selected and choose current. Okay, the next thing is we need to check project settings for our dimensions. Okay, and there we have to check how is our window, which is here 1024 by 600. Okay, so we will follow that, right. So here you can see the camera goes down, which we can change now to our level. Okay, now it should show you the exact position for that 00 position. Okay, now save this. Now select the camera 2D node, and here you have to choose new script, name this, let's say, camera controller. Okay, click on create, save this. Now we have to create a variable to keep our player within that scene, so we'll use onReady variable player equals to get underscore node, and we have to give it our user player, okay, which is here. Okay, now we have to give it root, then main scene player, right? Next we will also need to add one function. So function underscore process delta, right? And here we have to set position.x equals to player dot position dot x, right? Now next thing, we have to also check the camera setting for margin 00. Okay, so offset margin set to 0 0 0 0, right? Okay, now what we'll do is save this and run. Okay, here you can see our camera goes past this level. Now if we move it ahead, it will slowly move the camera too. Okay, now if we jump, it should update that too. Okay, so if I go beyond this, I cannot move further, it will go outside. So that part we have to program, but you get the idea how our camera is now tracking the user. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can set up the score system for our platformer game that we are making in Godot Engine. So let's open our project. Okay, currently we can play normally, only the issue remains is counting of our score, right? So as you can see, if I move this and grab the diamond, it won't show me any score, right? So what I can do is I can simply, now next thing is we have to use our canvas layer. Okay, so what we'll do is we will put into canvas. Okay, so here check for canvas layer and create. Now make sure that it is at the top and not under the UI. So let's delete this. Now here's the thing, now select your main scene and choose add node and then type in canvas, choose canvas layer, create. Okay, now below this we will create a child node, let's name it control. Okay, so we use control and here let's make it cover our scene. Okay, so we hide everything. What we can do here is we can add our text. So under control we will add our font. So before that, let me rename control to UI. Okay, you can see this entire selected. Now below that, let's add child node as our label. So where is the label? Let's search for that. Okay, now here is the label, you can see, right? Click on create and can make it move. Right, and let's go for our label and make it move to the right side. Okay, from this left top, if you select UI, you can view how much is your UI, then your label. Now for label, what we will do is we will name this as score text, right? Save this. Now next thing, we have to position it to, let's see, okay, next thing is align to center. Okay, so any text inside should be centered. Okay, so here you can also add text, which we will do. Okay, and that will be with the help of script. Okay, next thing, you can also okay, so let me see what else can we do. Okay, so here what we want to do is set its position to 19 and 20. Okay, next thing, we can set its size for 164, so 100 minimum, 64 after that. Okay, now save this, and next thing we will do is we can keep the font as is, right? And here you have other options such as themes, okay, which you can add. Alternatively, you can choose your own font, which is currently empty, so you can use new bitmap font. Okay, so apart from that, what we can do is we can go to our UI, and here we have to create a script. Okay, and we have to keep it as ui.gd create. Now here what we will do is we will do two things. First, we have to create our score text, right? So let's name this on ready variable score text, okay, equals to get underscore node, and then we have to give it score text, right, so that it will update in UI. Okay, next we have to also create a function. So function set underscore score underscore text, pass it your score, and it should return your score text dot text equals to string score, right? And within ready we have to also set score text, right, dot text set to 0. Okay, so we are setting some initial value for that, and after that we have to also, I think, go for player. So let me check player. Okay, so we have to check for player GD. Okay, player GD. Okay, now here we have to do two things, which is first being our onReady variable UI, because we created it, we have to point our player for that, so that whenever it touches diamond it should go to this particular UI. Okay, right, and after that let's go for canvas layer, right, and UI. Hopefully no errors. Next we have to also, if there is any, so that should be for our gems. Now here we have function collect gems. Here we have to set UI set underscore score underscore text, where we have score. So where that would be in UI.gd. Okay, set score text, and it accepts score. So if we go back to player GD, we have that part taken care of. Right, so if you run this right now, and you can see it will only show you this because we have our all main scene hidden. So let's enable it, run this, and currently score is 0 and it shows 1, right? So it is now counting. Right, now it is counting to 2, right? So you get the idea how to count your gems that you collect within your platform again.